Hi, today we're going to talk about communication principles, especially when you're healing from complex PTSD. And today I'm going to share one of my favorite ones, and this is actually a brain training thing. And I like to give them catchy little phrases so that my clients can remember them and we can really expound on them and get going. So I want to. This is not where I start people. This is more advanced stuff. Um, and I want to say that we are learning about this in the inner world, and then we're learning about this in the outer world. And so that's why we don't start here. We start here later. So this one's called "Don't Throw Your Pearls to Pigs." Okay, and I got this from the Bible back in my OCD religious compulsion. So I'm going to share this from you because this is where it came from. There is a scripture that talks about this, and so whether you are Christian or not, we have all these influences in our life, and so I took it from there. If you recognize it, and so I'm going to talk about this on a brain function level. Why this is a good advice and how you can use it to shift how you communicate, when you communicate, all kinds of things about this. And you're going to learn a ton. Okay, so about the brain and other people's brains. And so that's what we're going to outline here today in this video. So I'm Rachel McLeod. I'm a mental health therapist, obviously somebody who has wrestled with some severe disorders myself, and I also am an emotional wellness coach, and I specialize in helping people do the brain work for resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress because those symptoms have got to go. This is not what's supposed to be happening in your inner world, and your brain is designed to resolve those and to fix that for you. However, there is this process that the brain uses to resolve these symptoms and free you and liberate you, and that process can get stopped and blocked. And so I really specialize in talking with the part of the brain that does the stopping and blocking of this part so that we can influence that part of the brain to let this happen. And when that part is very responsive, when we talk to it in its native language, that's why all my interventions look a little different. They're body interventions. We're using the body to send those signals that will influence your survival system to let healing happen, to open up the gates of healing and processing. And then we can get your brain to clean all this stuff up for you. Okay, so this process is really important. This process is also going to be really important to what we're talking about with not throwing your pearls to pigs. So if it's blocked, there's not a lot of healing, growing, learning. There's not a lot of higher level brain function, like the executive functioning. That stuff gets shut off by the survival system. And once the survival system is seeing that we're in danger or that there's some conflict or problem here, it works to shift us out of to keep us safe, to keep us surviving. And so it will shut down those thinking and reasoning centers. And we don't need that. We need to survive. And so it shuts down all that higher level, wonderful brain process that leads to our thriving, our growth, our maturation, our wellness, our wisdom, our adaptability, flexibility, our healthy communication. This is the top parts of the brain, the executive functioning parts, are the only parts of us that know how to create thriving. This survival system, it only knows how to keep us surviving. It doesn't know how to make thriving. So we don't want this part of our life this part of our brain in charge of our life, right? And so, but if it's shifting into survival mode over all the things, we're operating from a different brain state than we are if the survival system is allowing the whole brain to work on healing and thriving in our life together as a whole functioning unit. And so working to get people in that whole function unit processing phase is really what I do, really what I encourage you to do with your brain. And so that I'm going to say it like this. I'm being a brat. So I'm not trying to offend anybody. Let me just say that right front. I want this to be playful. We learn faster when we're playing. And I don't want you to take this hard, but we don't want to be pigs. Right? What happens is that when the survival system engages, we're actually using the primal reptilian parts of our brain. Probably pigs might be a little bit even higher elevated than just our survival system. But It's really, we're talking about, we run, instead of running from all this human function we've got, we actually, the survival system shuts us down to just the primal instincts, the conditioning, generational patterns. This is not a thinking, reasoning center. Pigs are not over here doing math. Pigs are not over here seeing things from multiple perspectives. That's a higher human brain state. That's a higher human function. And we want to get that in there so that we're not operating in our life as pigs. Okay? We're not operating in our life like we just only have survival mode available to us. We have more to our brain, and we want to be in that part of our brain, using the whole part of the brain. Okay? Now, I've showed you this model of the brain before. I got this from Dan Siegel. I love his work. And so this is the spine, this is the brain stem, this is the survival system right here, this is your prefrontal cortex, this is where the stuff I'm talking about. This is the human brain, right? We have a nice big prefrontal cortex because all of our executive functioning is up there. If we have information moving through our spine, our sensory, our skin, it's up the nervous system, right? It's our body's communicating all this rich information up to the top of the brain so that it can say, oh, I can see what's happening. Let's adapt and let's do this. Let's not run into that wall again, right? But this is, if something that's running through this, through our body is pain, it might be perceived pain, it might be a memory, it might be emotional distress, it might be fear, it might be maybe accurate or not. This part of the brain, the survival system, is designed to make us survive. So it shuts off the prefrontal cortex. He calls this flipping your lid, right? And so this is when we're fight, flight, freeze, faint, or fawning to survive. This part of the brain thinks we need survival mode. And so when we've got that stuff moving, we're going to activate this. People with complex PTSD walk around in their life like this a lot. Okay. And so we actually, what I'm working with people is to return them to this whole human brain state where this brain working together like this is handling things beautifully, is learning, is adapting. If we're over here, we're just in survival mode. We're not learning, we're not adapting, we're surviving. This is when we're reduced back to our baser animal instincts. And that's why I'm adapting this to pigs, okay? So I think we're on the same page now. So what I work on doing is getting here, getting here, getting here. Now, a lot of what I'm teaching people to do is to learn how to recognize when they're here and what to do about it to pull their whole brain back into a regulated brain state, that higher functioning. This part, when we're in this state, we are resolving symptoms. We're healing, we're growing, we're adapting, we're gaining, we're seeing things from multiple perspectives. We are really doing some higher brain things. We're making compassion for ourselves and others. We're making insights and understanding. We're holding multiple truths at the same time. We're creating solutions that reach many of our needs, not just one, our need to survive. Right? This is the part of the brain that will package stuff that I want to survive. I want my kids to be happy and well. I want my finances to look like this. I want my home environment to look like this, right? There's multiple things involved it's working on. One action, when this brain's working on it, it has multiple layers of solution in it. Okay, I'm geeking out about that. I don't know if you're geeking out about that, but let's get back to this. So the first thing that we're doing is don't throw your pearls to pig on the inside. When you're like this, don't act like you're learning things. You're not. You are in survival mode. You don't know if you even need to be in survival mode. You don't know if that's the best state, and this part of the brain doesn't care to check it out. It's just reactive. That's how it's designed to be. So once you catch your brain acting like a pig brain, which I think pigs are very intelligent, so this might be insulting to them. However, your job is to get it back to this. And so we are using interventions that speak to this part of the brain in its native language, giving it what it needs, which is safety signaling. That's why we're tapping on specific points in the body or doing specific breathing things. Those are all things this part of the brain interprets as safe. right? It's not that or this part of the brain doesn't, it's not, there's like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Right? That we're not trying to help this part of the brain. It doesn't need our help. This part does, because this part is designed to override this entire thing. Okay. And so this, no matter how smart this is, if your survival thinks you're in danger, offline it goes and it's not available. So it doesn't really matter what it thinks. We are not working with this part. Now, those of us with histories of complex PTSD, we spent most of our childhood like this. So we show up in adulthood like this, and we are surviving everywhere. And some of us have pretty smooth survival strategies. We're passing, we're coping. My religious function really helped me. My religious obsession helped me look like a high flyer in my religious group that I was in. But outside of there, I was pretty mentally ill. And people could see that, but not where I was hiding out, right? So we can pass for being highly functional when we're actually severely mentally ill. Okay. And so it doesn't, this state can look different in lots and lots of people. You can be like this and go to your therapist and she thinks you're the smartest thing that ever worked. And I don't know if I can even help you. Hello, I'm in this state. This is not going to help me build the life I want, right? So we're training you to bring it down. Find your symptoms. Find your tells that you're in a dysregulated state. Find the way we can tell that you are. That's what I help people with a ton, is I help reassociate them with this. And then we're working on putting our brain here. Now, when you're here in your inner world, don't think your communication is going to be wonderful, right? You're going to communicate like a pig. For this example, I'm using pig. Okay. So don't do this. As soon as you find your brain here, you're here. You're working on getting here. You're saying, time out, hold on for a second. Let me get my brain together. This will do wonders and phenomenal things for your relationship, for your life. Brains need help to get back into this state. If you come from a childhood where you had lots of your parent putting you back together, your brain probably knows how to come back together pretty seamlessly. It doesn't need a lot of help from you. If you go through a childhood where your parents actually are part of shifting you into this state, they're dysregulating you, terrifying you, humiliating you, making you worry about all the things. They find you like this. They actually work to shift you like this because that's how their childhood was. And they're like, what's your brain doing in that weird state? Let's get you matching ours. Hello. You come to these things, and by this time you have not had enough training to get this to come back online. You can stay like this for the rest of your lifetime. Hello? No, not on my watch. You are going to get the support you need finally and get your brain back into that regulated state. And we're going to work on finding which intervention this part of your brain responds to the fastest. That's why I give you my 3 favorite interventions in my free program, Interventions for Inner World Transformation. If you use that, does your survival system respond by letting your whole brain turn back on? We want to see, can we make that shift? Can we be intentional? If we can, yes, it's party time. And now we're going to put our brain here all the time in every area of our life. This is how we are getting transformation in every area, because we're actually putting our brain in the state where it can make the transformations happen for us. The growth, the maturation, the expansions, the insights, the multiple perspective takings, the wisdom gathering, and we're going. Okay. Now, by this time, when I've got my clients living most of their life here, we all surround ourselves with people that have matching brain states. Whether you might, like me, think you're the healthy one in the relationship, you're not. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to break the news to you. You have a matching mental health issue. It's just different. And you might look like the high functioning one. That doesn't mean you're not mentally ill. Okay. So what happens is usually our friends have the same survival state that we do. So whether you're high functioning, whether you've got mostly resolved stuff, your brain will work to match you with people. So a lot of times my clients that are wherever level of dysfunction I find them in, after we're here, they've really healed on so many levels that they're ready to start communicating new boundaries. And it's just starting to come out. And they're starting to get healthier, and they're starting to higher function everywhere. Well, this no longer matches the friend group and the family dynamics that were here. And so now we have challenges because now we're functioning at a higher level, but the brains around us are still over here in pig states. Okay? I'm sorry. It's a gruesome metaphor, but it's going to work. So you're going to remember this forever. But this brains don't like different. And so these two brains don't really match anymore. This one wants to have deep, profound conversations. This one's triggered by them and is acting with fight, flight, freeze, faint, or fawn. And so we're trying to resolve conflict with these brains. It doesn't work. We're trying to have deep intimacy with these brains. It doesn't work. And we're trying to give our valuable pearls of wisdom, insights, ourself to this brain, right? And this doesn't work. Now, what happens here, so this is the principle, don't throw your pearls to pigs. And the scripture goes like, they will turn and devour you. They will trample your pearls and turn it, and they may devour you as well. And that's what happens all the time when people will share something really important, and this person will chop it up and throw it back in their face. They'll dismiss it and they'll devalue it and they'll defend themselves for it. And so you end up taking the hurt because it was something meaningful to you. And so, this is when you'll kindly and patiently, this happens in family systems. This could be your child, right? And this is why I'm helping people with their children, because we need to help children get back into this brain state. And now that you're here, you can actually guide them back. It's beautiful. This is the magic. Okay, but let's say you say, hey, I want you to go close the door to your bedroom while something's happening, right? While I'm vacuuming. And they say, why? Right? This is not a regulated brain response. If actually this is actually defensiveness. Your child wants you to tell you why, give you all the reasons, and then they want to chop it up and tell you why it's crap and they don't want to. And how about this solution it has nothing to do with your solution, and we're not on teamwork at all. We're enemies. We're fighting against each other, right? And so this would be a great spot. Don't throw your pearls to pigs. They're in that pig brain state. Right? You don't want to, so you don't want to explain to this brain state because that's not what we're doing here. This is a brain state that has their weapons right behind them, and they're going to chop up and demolish whatever you put on the table in front of them. Your pearls will be pulverized. So we want to not do that. Now, what we'll see, if your child's in a regular state, they'll be like, oh, okay, Mom, well, how come? Because last time we did this, we're going to see curiosity. We're going to see understanding seeking, meaning we're going to see a lot of those executive functioning things happen. And now this might be like, oh, this is where you're going to explain things. This is where you're dealing with another regulated brain that wants to like look at it and nerd out and like come up with solutions and synergize. This is what you're looking for in your relationships. Let's say you have a tough conversation that you're going to have with your partner. If you've been working with me, you've prepped for it because I know that you've been like this in your conflict with your partner. We've been prepping. Your brain is now ready to go into the conflict like this. Your nervous system is shifted around this. We're repatterned. We're ready to go. Your partner's still like this. You're not going to share your pearls with this partner until they get themselves into a regulated state. There's lots of skills for this. There's lots of ways to communicate. Hey, I would like to, and it looks like we're not ready for this conversation, or I can see by the color of your face that you're worried and that you're really kind of afraid of what I'm going to say. And can we work through that fear before we have this conversation? There's lots of things you say. Hopefully your partner is also working with their nervous system, and they say, okay, you know what? When I'm working with couples, this is what they'll say, hey, can you get into a regulated state? Can we breathe with this? Can we use our tapping for a little bit first? And they will get here. And now we're having the conversation. Now, a lot of times, because my clients typically come from a history of complex PTSD, they're used to talking with brains like this, right? They're used to dysregulated brains. So we're going to go round and round. You're going to do all your defenses. We're just going to spend tons of time acting like pigs about this one little issue we have. And so to get out of the habit of talking to a dysregulated brain is a brain training thing. I'm like, let's look at your partner, who you were talking to. Did you notice their body language? What signs could you see that led you to believe they were in a? Why did you think they were in a regulated state? Why did you think they were in a dysregulated state? Show me what you saw. And then we look through that and we see where their wires are crossed, and or that, I didn't even think about it. So now we're training their brain to look. I have a video about this. It's a brain game that you can play that will transform every area of your life. I think that's the title. And it's about looking at being able to see people's brain state, and it's about training yourself to include that information into your awareness so that you can work with it, so that you're actually learning when somebody's here and what kinds of supports to give them, or how you're going to interact in the conversation, versus when they're here. Right. And these are things you can do now. And I think this is an act of kindness to not set this person up for failure, because they're going to fail, because they're going to attack whatever it is, and then they're going to be an attacker. And it's nicer to say, I'd love to have this conversation with you. I don't feel safe. Why don't we? I'm going to wait till I feel more safe. And then they're going to say, why don't you feel safe? You always talk about you don't feel safe. And you're just going to let them throw that fit, because that's just what this brain state is going to do. This has nothing to do with you. This is that brain state. It's in fight mode. Right now, when I'm working with partners, and we can be very conscious about this. I have one partner that her part comes out that wants to fight, just anything. Can I get a fight? This is what I did in childhood. This is how we love each other. I need to fight you. And she married not a fighter. Okay. And they don't want anything to do with it. And we've got strategies here now for this. And now we're laughing about this. Right. And she's getting the opportunity to put herself into a regulated state in those moments, which is wonderful. This is how we can start repatterning how we're showing up in our relationships. We can bring to our partners our regulated state. We can bring to our partnerships and our life and our goals, executive functioning, order, higher level reasoning, insightfulness, all these things. And so this is what we are working for. Okay. And I want to talk about a couple of more cues that let you know you're talking to a brain in a pig state, a dysregulated brain. Okay. So if you make a statement and you think they're regulated, or you didn't even think about it, whatever, and you say something and you say, I forgot to fill my gas up. Will you fill my gas up for me this morning? And they say, oh, so you think I'm your servant now? Right? That is a dysregulated brain. If you say, oh, so, ... fill in the blank with any, what's a purposeful misinterpretation of your words. That is a brain that is dealing with probably some stuff from their own childhood that is laying over your simple ask to fill up the car with gas, right? And so what you want to do there is just acknowledge that, okay, they're dysregulated. I'm just going to withdraw from this conversation. I'm going to give them some space. I'm not going to continue to fight with them. Maybe you're going to notice them. Maybe you're going to come and you found that if you put your hand on their back, it really helps them. Or maybe you're going to just go give them a hug. It just depends on your person, right? And what's safe and what's not safe, and what their survival system will interpret as safe. And so, but this is not a place where we want to keep talking. This is a foundational principle why talk therapy does not help when you're in this state and you're talking. You are not in a learning, growing state. So there is no amount of talking that's going to get you into the state where your brain can create changes, shifts, and transformations. You get your brain in this state and everything you're talking about starts healing and resolving. This is what makes talk therapy phenomenal. And a lot of my clients can't get into that state. They come to me first. We get them into these states regularly, habitually, and like this was the state they were born in most of their areas, as many as we can get to. And we'll get to the other ones later. And when they can hold this brain state in some of these big, powerful conversations, now go do some talk therapy. It'll be great. Go do a coaching program, learn how to build out this skill, tackle this problem in your business. But if you don't have this, You're trying to do something impossible for pigs. Pigs can't make healthy marriages. Pigs can't make strong, powerful businesses. This part of your brain has no business in these important parts of your life. So, but the more you stay here, the more your brain starts interpreting what's safe and what's not safe. It starts getting used to things it thought was dangerous, and now it's safe. It starts building tolerance for things it never had tolerance for. That's what this part of the brain will do for you. And it's a total rewiring, a total upgrade. It is phenomenal. And I want you to have a lot of this. And that's why I encourage people use these interventions for 2 hours a day. I know it's a lot, but especially if you've got complex PTSD, your system is missing a decade in early childhood of regulation, and then maybe another decade. So I don't know how much support this part of the brain needs, but I'm serious, and we need to be serious about supporting it so that your brain starts to really be able to create a momentum shift, like a healing tornado that gains and gains momentum, not the chaos tornado. We don't need that one. It already has plenty of tornado of momentum. It already has plenty. We want to get a healing tornado, and we want to build it, build it, build it, empower it. And the more your brain stays in the state, the more it's learning how to create health and wellness for you. And the more brains practice something, the better they get. Okay. And so I want your brain to get good at this. So your communication principle is don't throw your pearls to pigs. If you have thrown your pearls to pigs, get out of there. Or shift strategies if you feel safe enough. If you're working with your partner who just has a brain flip, and you can really put your arm on them or say the thing that they love to hear and pull them back, that'll shift. We can do this for each other. It's not your job. It's an act of kindness. There's a whole thing with that. But there's a lot of things you can do when you can understand what brain state people are in. And it can influence how you communicate and what you communicate and when you communicate. And you can really build the matching neurology to support that, to support this new principle in your life, and to be able to make it part of who you are, integrated into how you move. This same thing at work. If your coworker or boss is their lid has flipped, this happens everywhere. This is not just reserved for homes. This is at work. People flip their lids there, and your boss, your coworker, oh, there they go. We don't have to take this personally, but we can become really effective with it. We don't need to go get dysregulated with them. It's not a service to them, even though they will try to dysregulate us, because that's what this brain state does. It wants matching brain states. Right? And if you imagine if we were being chased by tigers and this one sensed it, it would want everyone to do it and run. Right? It wouldn't want anybody chilling and being calm. It'd be like, let's go. But we are not being chased by tigers. And I want my clients, hang on to your nervous system is something I'll say. Don't let somebody dysregulate your nervous system. Or if they are dysregulating your nervous system, get your nervous system back on, because that repetition of getting back into a whole brain state is an important repetition. Right? And it's how your brain learns to stay regulated in more and more places. And that's how your mind body system learns the things that will send it and the things it needs to practice on, so it can get strong enough not to get sent into dysregulation over that. That's the kind of repair we're working on, and it's foundational. And so we want the immediate win, but really we want enough repetition that your whole foundational way of showing up and is stronger and healthier and more grounded. So that's it. If you want to do this work in more detail, you want to do the work of shifting yourself out of symptoms, out of fight or flight, really jump into my free program, Interventions for Inner World Transformation. Try those interventions out. If you find one that works for your brain and shifts you out of survival mode, use that intervention a ton, and you are primed for massive transformation. If you want me to guide you through my process of building some amazing skills, but also my process for resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress, rewiring the brain, building those developmental functions that didn't get a chance to build during the developmental time frame, right? We can build that in now and also help your brain achieve your goals. That's one of the higher brain functions, and I want your brain to do that too. Just because you may have started in trauma does not mean you need to end in trauma. You can end very, very victorious, and I want you to be victorious now. So I also offer one-on-one coaching and small group coaching, and so you can find that on my website as well. All of the links to this are down below in the description part of this video. And let's get to work. Okay, take care. Bye.